Hello everyone, I'm Tony Holbrook, Vice President of Operations for NationsGuard. I'm sitting here with Johnny McKellar, who's our President of NationsGuard.
You know, Tony, we've been talking a lot about our risk triangle, and we have our pricing review, we have our inspection review, well, we also have our loss review. And a lot of people tell us, well, yeah, I do a loss review. We talk to a bunch of dealers and they say, yeah, we have a loss review, but you know, and we know based on our experience in doing this for many years that we have a loss review. The variance in what that means is dramatic. And, you know, let's talk a little bit about in detail how we approach loss review. And when we say loss review, you know, I use the term loss review because I don't like audit.
Right.
Essentially, it's an audit.
Yeah, so we've never taken any money from anybody.
Never taken any money from any of our dealers, any of our partners. We go in and our objective is to help the service department, help the used car department to make sure they're communicating and that as we have claims, they're handling the claims properly and not abusing the dealer's program. So tell us a little bit about how our loss review program works.
Yeah, so our loss review program is just a lot more in depth. A lot of service contract providers, they provide you with the earned loss ratio report or a session statement or something. But what we do is we do a...
And so not to interrupt you, but they put a session statement in front of you. Session statement shows loss ratios and it shows books of business by term and mile of contracts, and it shows the loss ratios. Okay, well, okay, what are we gonna do with that?
Right.
Okay, my loss ratio is high. What's causing it?
Right. So what we do, where we start with, is the data. You know, we are very big into the data. So we look at the data and see where the losses are coming from. What are the drivers? Is it a component? Is it people? You know, do we have an advisor that's a little more aggressive than everybody else? Is it a model? So when we walk in a dealership, we already have a pretty good idea of what we're looking for. So we're very strategic in our time in the dealership. And so when we go to the dealership, we'll pull history, we'll pull ROs, we'll pull inspections, we'll interview dealership personnel to kind of get to what the root of the problem is. So rather than saying, hey, your loss ratio is high, Johnny, I'm gonna say, hey, Johnny, your loss ratio is high, and this is why it's high. And so when we identify why it's high, then we work with the dealership to help them develop solutions to get it under control. And so we don't just leave after that. We've helped them develop a solution, and then we tell them, hey, we're gonna come back in 90 days and we're gonna do this all over again, but we're only gonna look at claims in this 90-day period. And again, we're not there to take any money from anybody. We tell them we're here to be an extra set of eyes for you. And it's funny, you know, our loss review process had some of our dealers and our dealer partners have said that this has saved them from when they got a factory audit, because they instituted some of the things that we recommended and they instituted them in their factory program as well. So whenever the factory came to do their audit, because they were doing the things that we recommended, their risk went way down and their chargebacks were almost nothing. So our loss review process, if you think about a factory audit, is a little more in depth like that, but we're not taking any money from you. We're just educating you. We're there being a partner, helping you be an extra set of eyes. And it's sometimes you may have a new service manager and they just don't have the experience to know behavior of technicians and advisors. And so we help them, you know, put those sort of processes in place to control that behavior. One thing we know, every store we've been in where the losses have been high, it's always been human intervention. And it's always been items that are subjective. So that would be leaks. Is it really leaking or is it a seat? And suspension components. Is it really too much play or not? Always there are things that the customer never complained about, and always subjective items. So we are pretty good at this. We get in there, we identify the problem, we work with the dealership to develop solutions, non-adversarial partnership, and don't take money from anybody. And you know, we're pretty good at it, and so you're quickly in and out of that process. And as you've stated before in earlier videos, it can be 30, 40. We've had some dealerships where it's been over 100% improvement in their loss ratio.
And that's money in the dealer's pocket. It's money in the dealer's pocket. And let's go back to reporting a little bit. So we identify the dealers that we need to go in and perform a loss review process with metrics. We benchmark against other dealers of the same type of franchise, Honda dealer against a Honda dealer. And so we have these metrics, and the numbers don't lie. At the end of the day, when we see a huge variance in loss ratios, then we know that we need to go in and take a look at it, down to the service advisor level. And so typically what we find is 1 or 2 service advisors are abusing the program and not handling the claims appropriately, and we address that. And so, you know,
the other thing we can find is that there are claims early in the life of the contract, so we know their inspection process is not good.
And then we'll go in with our inspection review process. And then we sum it all up by doing a comprehensive report, right?
Correct.
A very in-depth report that gets down to the minute level of detail.
Every claim.
With every claim that we reviewed and what we found and what our recommendations are. And then we leave that and support the dealer and it's not a gotcha. This isn't a gotcha.
Right.
That's why I don't like to call it an audit. It's not a gotcha. It's a review process where we are revealing to the dealer, to the service manager, to the used car manager what we find so that we can help them get better. And it truly is transformational.
Yeah, it is, and it's an exercise in awareness, Johnny. And so that's most of the time what we find is the management didn't know what was going on. And so it wasn't, and so again, exercise and awareness, and kind of goes back to what you're, you're opening in one of your videos. We want to transform this industry, and this is something that nobody else in the industry is doing.
So if you'd be interested in us coming in and taking a look at your program, helping you understand where you're at from a loss ratio standpoint, implementing our loss review process, and taking a look, please reach out and give us a call.